to go.
All right, are we ready to get started?
I think so.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on one of your last summer days. This is our LK launch, and it is one of our tool sessions that we're hosting at 11 o'clock today. And this one is Let's Get Jamming with Jamboard. All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit of history here when I introduce the individuals who are presenting today. Jana, I've worked a lot with, so Jana is co-hosting today with me, and Jana and I have worked together a lot. So, and Jana, you just heard speaking there. Jana, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself there?
Let's be honest, Nicole, you're the mastermind behind putting this incredible team together. I am only here, I'm going to be supporting the chat. So if you have any questions, put it into the chat and I will support that way. With all of the links for Jamboard, I'm going to put those in as well. But that is going to be the extent of my support. It is all the summer learning team here with Nicole. So thank you for everything.
So this summer, the 5 of us had taken on the challenge of teaching remotely with the summer learning program. So through this, I was able to meet 4 incredible teachers in the LKDSB, and we decided together that we were going to host a session called Jamboard, and introducing all the tools and the capabilities and the wonderful things that Jamboard can enable us to do while we're teaching remotely. And I have witnessed by popping into all of these classes how incredible these teachers are. So I'm very pleased that they're joining us today, and you will not be disappointed. We're going to try to make this session as hands-on as possible and get you involved in actually using and trying out Jamboard. Okay. So we're just going to start with our land acknowledgement. And today our team is joining you from all different places around the Lambton-Ketchester School Board. We have our team members from Port Lambton, Sarnia, Lakeshore, Corunna, Kamlaki, and Chatham today. And the area is surrounded by many lakes and rivers and streams and very fertile lands. And all of these areas are on the traditional territory of the Chippewa, Odawa, Potawatomi, and Delaware nations. So I am joining you today from Port Lambton, and I just want to reflect on where I am and what I am grateful for where I live. Every day I look out at the river and I get to see the beautiful scenery. We use the river for fishing, we use the river for recreation, boating, swimming, and I'm very grateful for everything that we have. We see the ships going along the shipping channel and shipping their cargo, and a vast amount of people using it in all different ways. So when the treaties were created, we were created to agreed upon, and within those treaties there's an obligation and a responsibility to care for the land, and that it not only extends to myself but all peoples. So please take a moment and just reflect on where you are and the lands that you are gathered on, and just take a moment to think about why you're grateful for your land. Okay, and in this session today, our goals are to talk about the Jamboard tools. If you're new to Jamboard at all, we're just going to quickly introduce the tools, get you playing around with them. We're going to show you, our team coined the term Jamspirations, and we're going to show you some little inspiration surrounding the Jamboards. We're going to talk about how you can use assessment with Jamboard, how you can provide students with brain breaks through Jamboard as well, because we really learned this summer how important brain breaks are, and that we were teaching 2 hours synchronously, and we really saw how the students needed regular brain breaks from the continuous synchronous learning. We will show you some advanced features, things that if you're feeling a little bit more comfortable, you might want to dig deeper into and try out for advanced features. We're going to talk to you a little bit about digital citizenship, because things come up and things happen within Google Jamboard. And if you kind of front load and create that learning community, we can avoid some of the things and make it a safe learning environment for all. And then we're going to end with some troubleshooting and question and answers. Okay, so we'll just talk about what Jamboard is. Jamboard is a collaborative, interactive, and digital whiteboard developed by Google as part of the G Suite family. And I know I was completely blown away because when I heard G Suite and we use Google Classroom and we use the G Suite within our school, it made sense and it works and you can save everything, share with kids. It's just a great platform. So what are the benefits of using Jamboard? So problem solving, Jamboard provides a shared platform for team brainstorming and planning. Critical thinking, Jamboard makes learning visible, which is really crucial when we're doing remote learning. And it's accessible to collaborators on the Jam session. Teamwork, Jamboard enables collaboration both inside and outside the classroom. Creativity, Jamboard supports learning in curricular areas that benefit from more flexibility. Communication, Jamboard is integrated with Google Meets and Hangouts, so it allows for real-world and real-time connections as well. And for literacy and math, which is least but not least, but Jamboard enables differentiated instruction as well. Okay, so just an intro to Jamboard tools. And we're going to get jamming with Jamboard. So Gianna, if you could copy that link into the chat. And what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of show you some things, but at the same time while I'm showing you, you can just grab a page on Jamboard and start playing around and using the tools. So I'm going to click on my link here. And Gianna, feel free to unmute. And any, like Carla and Brianne and Lindsay, and Lisa, pop on. And if you want to say anything about any of the tools, please feel free to do so.
I see lots joined in immediately. That's fantastic.
Okay, so along the left-hand side, you see all of the Jamboard tools here. We have the pen feature. The pen feature, there's just different kinds of pens that you can use, paint, highlighter, different colors. These are the only colors that you can choose from. If you are on an iPad, your features are a little bit different because you will, it'll allow you to use an assistive drawing tool, which is really beneficial for the kids because it can do shape recognition. And if the kids are using their finger and they're trying to trace a shape, it'll recognize that shape. Or if the kids are trying to write a word, it'll actually put it into text format. So the iPad or the laptop doesn't have that capability, but the iPad does. And go ahead and play around. So here we have the eraser, and I can actually erase what someone else has done here. The arrow just allows you to move things around. The sticky note, you can type anything you want on it. You can put that on the board. You can resize it, change the color.
Maybe to put out of what grade in September, if they know.
What's that? Sorry, you were cutting out.
Right, I was gonna say maybe we could ask everybody to put in a sticky note of what grade they're teaching in September.
I think that's a great idea. So you access the sticky note right onto the left side there. You can pick your color and put your grade in there.
Nicole, do you want to touch on how we got that background into that Jamboard?
Sure. Was that you that put that in there?
It was me that put it in.
Do you want to explain and I can show them?
Sure. So Jamboard, you can import photographs from anywhere, including your Google Slides. So Nicole is over on the left-hand side and she's hovering over that add image. So if she clicks on that, you have a variety of places where you can look for images. So because it's a G Suite product, you can go through the Google search bar and you have all of your Google search immediately available. Or you have your Google Drive. So if you have a bunch of pictures that you have saved somewhere in your Google Drive or on your computer, it's literally a 2-click button to upload them into that Jamboard. So we're gonna pick a cute little doggy and just hit the select, and it takes a minute to process, and there's our little puppy. So this is a pretty cool feature, especially if you wanted to have the group collaborate on something. Here's your photo prompt, and you can use this. I think we call this a graffiti wall style, but you can see as all of the sticky notes pop up, if we were using that to annotate something, we would have easy access to do that very quickly with a whole class.
What's great with any of those images or your sticky notes, if you just click on it and the 3 little dots there, you can duplicate any of them. You can delete them. You accidentally put something in, you didn't want it, or you can order it to overlap to set it in the background or the foreground.
And you can resize them at any time. I just saw
Nicole, could you go through again and just show them where they access the sticky note and then how they start writing on the sticky note?
Sure. Sticky note is right here, the square with the couple lines on it. Just click on it, write your words. Choose you can even change your color, whichever color you like, or no color at all, and just have it white. And you save that, and it puts it in there. And then you can actually go to your sticky note after, and like if you just double click on it, you can change your words in there. Or if we're collaborating on something, Jana, for example, could go into my sticky note and she could add something to my sticky note as well. Maybe we're collaborating as a pair and we're working together.
Can you lock a note? So
Yeah.
talking about the older grades finding fun and moving and editing the ones by their friends?
No.
So we were going to discuss that later in the digital citizenship of things that can occur, but that is one of the things to be aware of, is that students can manipulate any of these if you give them editing control, and they can change and edit any of these.
Is there another feature, for the sticky note with the iPad? I have one participant saying that they're hitting the sticky note on the iPad screen, but nothing's happening.
I'm going to go on to my Jamboard. I don't know if any of the rest of you can answer that question.
I have found sometimes it can be a little finicky with those sticky notes, and sometimes you just have to reload the Jamboard. The bigger it gets and the more people that are in it, as with any digital collaborative tool, the bigger it gets, the more confused the computer gets, and sometimes you just have to restart it. Carol, can you see who added or edited it? Not to my knowledge, unless you've asked students to put their names on those sticky notes. It's truly like it appears random, but it allows you to have a conversation of like, let's talk about this idea, and there's not necessarily a student attached to it, so you can address the content rather than who it was. But that is a downfall if you're looking to track which student said what.
If you want to keep track of certain students, though, up here in the top, you will see a rectangle with numbers. Right now I have 7 different jams. I'm going to expand that. So I'm going to click the down arrow. It's going to show me all of the Jamboards that I have up, the jams right now. You can do up to a maximum of 20 jams. So depending on the number of students in your class, you could go up, if you want individual pages, you could go up to 20 students. Or if you just wanted to do five pages, for example, and do groups of 4, and you might want to take that page, okay, and then get your sticky note here. So that's, and if I'm going to say in this group is going to be Jana, and then when students log on and you give them their page, you can say, go look for the page that is your group's. Find your name on your group's page. And then they know that's the page that they're going to work on.
And you'll see that in the slides too.
Yep. Okay, and then we have a shape tool. So just basic shapes here. You can draw on, and you can go to any page to play around. You don't just have to, like, feel free to go to any page and play around.
Nicole, maybe go up and between the pages and where to see how many pages there are.
Up here?
Yep.
Okay. So up here, if you had your class of students, you'd be able to see, right now everyone's kind of anonymous because some are outside of our school board. But our students, if they log in through their Google Classroom or their Google account, you'll see their name come up or picture. See, I can click on and it says your name. So you know which student is on which jam. And you can also see what they're doing on their jam as well. And if I click this arrow here, it'll navigate me through the other jams. So if you are doing a number talk or whatnot, you can navigate through as they're showing their thinking to see who is, like, just to see what strategies they're showing, or you can comment individually on those students. Okay, so there's the shape tool. This is the text box, which is a new feature that we just found and we didn't have this summer, which is a phenomenal feature. So you can actually add a text box there and write.
Nicole,
Yep.
who has control over the number of jams that you created there? It's the
I,
creator of the jam, correct?
Oh, it's Google.
Oh. Pardon?
Google
On the
it.
top where you've created the different jams?
Up here?
Yes. Who has control over the number of jams?
Well, Lisa, can you add one?
Anybody can add a page, but when it hits that 20 number, that's maxed out by Google itself.
Okay, good answer. Thank you.
So when you're allowing access to, just like any of your Google Docs, any of your Google Slides that you create, if you're creating access for those students to be editors, they can edit anything on here. So that's what we were going to talk about in digital citizenship, is that you want to spend the beginning maybe of your time, if you're starting with remote learning, kind of front loading that and really establishing that learning environment that will provide that safe and effective learning environment to talk about some of those things before they happen as well.
Can you show where you, you know how you just reduced it, so you can see all the mini boards? Where do you go to get those little mini boards? What button do you push?
So right here?
Yeah.
So it's a little arrow.
Little arrow that's,
So
it's very hidden, it's there.
It's very tiny. It's a rectangle here, and actually if I click on those, on the rectangle as well, they will pop up. And then to minimize that, you click on that little arrow and it'll put it away. Okay, and then you can change your background up here to, maybe you're doing some coordinates, doing a survey, a graph of some sort. Over here, you can change your background to that, or these are the backgrounds that they allow. So there's not a huge selection of them, but you can change your background. I can clear the whole frame of what everyone's done, or I can just press undo if I've accidentally.
And you can photograph as a background. The difference is if you use that background button, it's not maneuverable. So your background can't shift. None of the students can come and move it. Whereas if you imported a picture and just size it to be the background, that picture can still be moved around.
Okay. So I think I'm going to get out of this unless you think there's anything else just to show right now. So as we go, and as all of the hosts are sharing some ideas with you, you'll learn a little bit more about Jamboard as well, and the features and how they can be used. But if there's not any other questions right now, there's a pointer as well. So if you're actually doing a lesson synchronously and you wanted to highlight anything, this is a really cool feature. But that's also a thing that students really like. So.
No, we're caught up in the chat. Oh, just how'd you get the graph there? That was the last question. Just how you got the graph.
Okay, so I'll pop back in here for a second. And up top, it says background. Once mine loads back up. So see how it says background? You can select any of these backgrounds. You can just select a white one, lined one, blue one. All right, so we have some Jamspirations for you, and we are going to start with all right, number talks on Jamboard.
Okay, so I have a couple images on here I wanted to talk about. The one that you see that's really big is an actual screenshot of how I used it with my class during distance studies. So when you use Jamboard, you can present it. On this screenshot, I'm using 2 devices. So I was on Jamboard on my iPad, and I was also logged into the Google Meet on my Chromebook too. So that way, when I present from my iPad, I can still see the whole grid view of all the kids in my class at once, which I found super helpful. So with Jamboard, I know so far we've talked a lot about how kids can all collaborate on it and how they can all write at once. And I did do a couple number talks that way, where I would give them a problem and I would give them all a page and I would watch them all work on it together. But what I was really missing seeing was when they would explain their strategies and I would represent their thinking as they talked. So there's 2 ways I've done that here. The first one at the top where it says 7 times 4, I had just written a number sentence and got them to explain their thinking, how they solved it, and I would write it as they talked. The one at the bottom, you can import an image like Nicole had showed us earlier. So sometimes I would just import a picture and get them to still talk through the math that they had seen. Some tools that I found super helpful on here were that you could split the strategies into different colors. So every time a new kid talked about a different strategy, I would switch my color so that it was easy to tell them apart. I also have their initials on here so that after they had given a strategy, I would label it as whose strategy that was, so that when I went to assess later, I could flip back through my jams and remember which kids were using which strategy. So I found this helpful to create small groups based on when I looked back who was using which strategy, and I could clump them that way. And something I had just thought about today with Jamboard, because in my classroom I have a TV and not a smart board. And last year I was really missing the ability to write on while I was doing a number talk because I didn't have an interactive smartboard. So if you have a TV in your class too, you could always stream this Jamboard from your iPad to your TV and still write like you had a smartboard, because I know a couple other teachers who have TVs now, that's a feature that they really miss. So if we, oh, sorry, you have a question?
If they're doing that, they're broadcasting onto a TV, they would then be writing on their iPad, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a comment that your writing is so impeccable. Was that a stylus you used?
It wasn't. This is my finger. But with Jamboard, you can like zoom in on your iPad and it would zoom into a corner of the Jamboard. And then you can write, so you're writing fairly big on your full screen, but it's when you zoom back out, it's only taking up a small bit of the board. So we have a live Jamboard that we were going to show you how we could do a number talk, and I can kind of show you how zooming in and out makes it a little neater to write on. But definitely, I know a lot of us bought styluses this summer for fairly cheap on Amazon, and they were really helpful to write on these, especially for the kids who aren't going to be they're not as easy to write with their fingers. The styluses work really well on the iPads.
And if you have an iPad, you also have that assistive writing tool. So especially students who may not have the neatest handwriting, if you, they can write it with their finger or a stylus, and Jamboard will actually convert it into text for them. But that's only on an iPad. It does not exist on a Chromebook.
So this one we have up now is just a Jamboard, and I'll just show you how I would quickly do a number talk, either on my Google Meet with kids, or if I was going to use this in my classroom. I'm on my iPad now writing, but you'll see it on your screen. So the number I've put on here is 6 times 8. So if I was using this on my Google Meet, I would have all my kids mute themselves. And then if they had an answer, they could give a little thumbs up to the screen, and I would ask them to unmute. Because if you're using your Chromebook, you can still see them all on your grid view too, which I thought was super helpful. So I would give the kids a couple minutes to think about 6 times 8. And then I can see Brianne has a strategy. I can see her thumb up, so I could ask her to unmute.
like to solve this by skip counting. So I would do 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, and 48.
So on here, I guess it doesn't show for you, but I have zoomed in on my iPad. I could show you this way, I guess, if you could see me, so that it's easier to write. But then when I zoom back out, it stays fairly small on the screen. And I would put her initials beside this so I could remember later that this was her strategy, skip counting. And now I'm seeing Lisa has a different strategy. So I would go to the pen tool at the bottom and switch my color because I'm going to write another strategy now.
Okay, so I don't like that 8. I'm gonna half it because I'm way more comfortable with my 4 times tables. So I'm gonna use 6 times 4. And I know that that's 24. That's a known fact for me. And then I'm gonna double it to get back to the 8. So 24 plus 24 is 48.
And then I would put her initials at the bottom. So that's just one way. We really like to use it with my summer learning program this summer. And again, you don't have to write the number sentences like that. You can import pictures that you find that are a little easier or a little more fun for the kids to see too.
Can I jump in for a second, Carla? I found during the summer learning in number talks, the great thing about doing it on Jamboard as opposed to actually in person was it forces that wait time. Like we're always so uncomfortable with that silent thinking time in our classroom. Whereas if you train all of your students to be on mute, they're forced to take that time in silence to think through it before they are able to answer. And I found that helped me create that think time that they really needed.
Lisa, that's so right that you said that.
Okay. We good?
Yep, I think you could go to the next slide, Nicole.
It sounded like we were having some sound issues for a second.
Nicole. Nicole, I think we've lost your volume.
It's okay. I'm going to talk through this one.
Perfect.
So we start set. So during our summer learning program, math games were a really great way to use Jamboard because they're interactive, and I see going back into the classroom using Jamboard as a way to play math games without necessarily having to share manipulatives because you can do everything digitally. We're going to show you one math game today, although this slide will link you to a whole other set of Google Slides with different math games in it. So if you get access to these slides at the end of the presentation, you will be able to find more math games. But for today, we're going to play Don't Break the Bank. So I have my other summer learning teachers logging into that Jamboard. We're just going to show you how to do it, Diane. We'll give you the live link at the end, just because I don't want to overload Jamboard while we're trying to show you how to do this. Okay, so Don't Break the Bank is, I believe, one of the games that came out of the Lawson Continuum, although I don't have the exact page reference. But essentially, everybody gets a bank account, and you get to make 3 deposits into your bank account. Your bank can only hold $999. So you can't break the bank by putting more money in it than that. So to play this game, you need a dice, 1 dice. If you don't have a dice in your house, we have a link in the next slide. Nicole, if you can just flip that. downfall to Jamboard is you can't insert a live link inside of the board. So I have just included the link on the side that people could copy and paste. Okay, so if we go to the board, so I have created 4 boards in here. And this is just a picture that I think, I'm actually not sure who has created it anymore. Nicole, can you flip one more slide? So it's just a blank place value chart. I think that this was probably made in Google Slides. We found to make the scorecards and the game boards, it's actually easier to import it into Jamboard than to create it in Jamboard itself. So you can import from Google Slides, from images, and I think from PDFs, and they just pop directly into your Jamboard. And then I annotated it. I found the hundreds, tens, and ones, depending on where your students are, and if you need to differentiate, that was actually very helpful. And then I just have a player card, a sticky note with player 1, 2, 3, and 4 on each card, so that each student can go in and put their name on that slide, and it claims that slide is theirs, and then nobody else is allowed to write on it. And I can see, Nicole, can you go up and show the slides so I can show where people are? Okay, so Kyla's getting your name in. So I can see which student is on which page, and I can tell if somebody is not doing the right thing in the right spot. So right now I can see that Carla and Nicole are both on the same page, and I don't want them to be. So I'm going to say, Nicole, you're presenting, but if you were a student, I would ask you to go to a different page. So Lindsay has her own page and Bree has their own page. So those 3 people are just going to roll their dice and input their numbers. So any dice roll, you'll get a digit 1 through 6, and you can pick anywhere in that 3x3 grid to put your numbers in. You have to build 3 3-digit numbers and then add them up to see how much money you have in your bank. So as they're doing that, I can watch this in real time. And you can see along the top, I can see who is on what page, and I can watch as they're putting those numbers in. So if I found, you know, student so-and-so needs a little bit of extra help, I can go to that page and work directly with that student, and we can draw and talk, and I can use my laser pointer to direct them to, oh, I see your number in your tens column is wrong, and I can show them exactly where that number is, and then it helps me be able to interact while they're playing that game.
Lisa, question with, so like Kahoot has this option, I know Seesaw has a community option. With people who've pre-prepared games like this, is there anywhere or any platform where they can be shared with others where they could make a copy and use them and share them? Other than if you've shared the jam yourself, there isn't a bank of pre-prepared games, correct?
Not that I found. I am personally working on creating one of my own, but it's summertime, so it's going awfully slow. There is in the slide deck we're going to share, there's a Google slide with a bunch of, it's just the rules. The game boards aren't all there yet. And if the person who created that file is on here, I know they're a summer learning teacher. I don't remember who it was, but a big shout out to that team or that person that created that file, because it's fantastic. And it will be shared as well.
Thank you.
If I can add something, Lisa, if you don't mind. Can you hear me? Okay, because I had to switch microphones. When you create your page as well, like your game, you can click these 3 dots in the top right-hand corner, and you can actually save it as, like download that specific page as a PDF. So if you've created your game board in Jamboard, and you want to use that in your actual classroom, maybe, you know, remote learning is done, or you have a blended model or whatnot, you can actually print out these game boards and laminate them, and you can print out the rules and use them as well, because you can like save them as a PDF or an image.
Yeah, it's very portable between platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think I've given enough time for my players to go through. So now I'm going to ask Nicole to go over to slide 7. And you can see the numbers of the slides are along the top. So this is what I did with my group. I asked all of my players to go in and put their score down on one page, so that we can see all of the scores and we can pick who the winner was of that round. You certainly don't have to play 3 rounds of this game. You can do however many you want. I found that 3 rounds in my summer learning worked really well. That was a
How long would 3 rounds have taken you?
Depends on the group. I think like when I first started, it was probably about 15 minutes. But by the end of that 3-week program, I think we were down to 5 minutes. We could bang this out real fast.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Because they know the routine and it's so easy,
Yeah.
right? It's very like this morning, Dave Cormier was talking about complicated tasks and complex tasks, right? And this is like, it's multi-step, but it's just adding, right? And if your students are comfortable with adding and regrouping, this is a great way to practice it. Okay.
Lisa, can I just add something?
Sure.
So we played as well in summer learning on the exact same game using Jamboard, and just as an alternative, I presented my screen and all the students were on their own stand. And when I was presenting, I actually showed each student doing this together. So like if it was Nicole's turn, Nicole would have rolled her dice in front of us and she would have wrote in her 1 number, and then we would have went to, so that's just another alternative, to make it a little bit more like longer so you can.
Yeah, so if you were beginning this, you might actually, and I did that too, Lindsay. When I first started playing the game, I would do all the writing and the modeling and we would talk through the whole process. And that took considerably longer. And as we learned that process and became more comfortable with it, then the speed comes up. So yes, you're right. That absolutely is a different way of doing it. Yeah. Okay, so if we go on to our scorecard, I can see that player 3 got 720 and player 1 broke the bank because they're over 9,000. And then we can just have a little celebration of who that was and go to the next round if we want. And then I threw this in. This was the strategies, the feedback I got from my students was, what can you do to help win this game, right? What are the things that help you in winning? Just to seeing if to pull out those math concepts that I really want to focus on. And so this was the feedback that I got. So I can see that they're thinking along the right lines, and that this was a good game for them.
Okay, thank you very much, Lisa.
Welcome.
Okay, I'm just gonna quickly show you, like we're just showing you some different ideas to see how Jamboard can be used. This here is Steve Wyborny's SD Mysteries. And I've just I created my own at home in my own glass, and then, but it's still his clues and whatnot. I just personalized it a little bit to what I was doing and created it in Jamboard. And what I would do is up here, I can create one page of, so this is going to be a student page. And then what I can do is I can go up here to the 3 dots and I can duplicate that page. So all students will have that exact same page and I don't have to make it every time. I can just duplicate that page. So you assign them to a page and then they can begin with the clue. So clue 1, the answer is a 2-digit number. So then they would go to their 100 chart and they would eliminate all the ones that are not 2-digit answer or 2-digit numbers. And then you would go to clue 2, find my next here. You have to order them properly too. So clue 2, the answer is an odd number. And then they go back to their 100 chart and they would then eliminate those numbers that are even numbers. Okay, so that's just another little thing that you can do is take one of his SD Mysteries and turn it into a Jamboard lesson.
Did the Steve Wyborny, I forget, does he have the slides available for download?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you could just download those slides and import them directly into Jamboard, and it may not be as pretty as you want it, but the content will all be there.
Yep. So you can use it as is, or you can make it your own. So here is just a few different ideas to see cross-curricularly, if I can even say that word, how you can use Jamboard. So what I did here was I found an image of a Venn diagram and I inputted that into here. I actually went to insert image, found images of alligator and crocodile and inserted them. And then here with I was on my iPad. So what I was able to do is use my assistive text piece. And I used my stylus and I was just writing the words alligator. It identified it and put it into text like that. And then another idea so I created this chart in Google Docs. And then I went into, I was on my iPad. So I went into my drive. Can we do that on here? Actually, I'm second guessing this on here. Oh yeah, sorry. Google Drive right here. I found my document that I created with my chart and put it into my jam, and then I can sort here the word families. And over here, you could just find a picture if you're working on inferencing in reading and have your students, like this is from New York Times, who puts out pictures and what's going on in the picture. Just having them share. They could grab a sticky note out of there, share their ideas, pop it all on top of here, or they could each get their own page. So work on inferencing together. And another idea here is you could select an image and then one at a time, eliminate a sticky note, and you could have students guess and give clues as to what is underneath there. I should have saved that one for last.
Nicole, for the chart, to import the chart that you created, did you need to save that as an image first?
Nope. So I created it right in Google Docs, and I just selected that document and popped it in.
Super.
So any type of chart-based tool or background or picture that you want to use, Jamboard does not have a straight line tool. So it's actually easier to create those kinds of charts and graphics in slides or in docs and then import them.
And so you just find it in your drive and you pop it in and you just resize it. Okay, so that was just a couple more ideas there.
That's the wrong file.
Oh, what did I do?
That's the Math Games file.
Okay, now I have to go back into Google. So if you wanted to talk for a second.
Okay.
Well, we have a question, so that's perfect timing. Ideally, Jamboard would be used with smaller groups, just trying to wrap their head around doing a number talk with 29 or 30 kids when not everyone can have their own slide, because you said it was limited to 20 as well, right?
I think Lindsay's going to touch on that in a little bit.
Okay.
There is also, I'm sorry, Brianne, I'm going to do it. There is also a different tool. It's not a Google tool called ClassKick. If you wanted a more individualized way of tracking things, it's an alternate version of this. That's all I'm going to say.
Explore it on your own.
If you're ready for that, yes, it's called ClassKick.
That's a whole nother session.
Class, C-A-L-S-S, kick, K-I-C-K, all one word. When you get the slides, there's a link for it in there. All right, are we ready to go back to slides?
There. I accidentally closed it down, so I had to find it again. Sorry about that. All right, so let's move on to assessment. Brianne?
So assessment and evaluation will look a lot different for each classroom teacher, as it does whether you're remote or whether you're face-to-face with your students. So we're gonna just give you a quick sample of what it could possibly look like on Jamboard.
Brianne, sorry for interrupting. Could you speak a little bit louder? Is it possible?
I tried to change my microphone. The girls told me that I was quiet, but I tried to change my microphone. Is that okay, or is there a way to make it louder?
You just sit closer to your screen. I think you're better.
Okay.
Zoom.
Should I also turn off my video camera then too? Okay. So, assessment evaluation will look different for everyone. So you have to make it work for you. I'm gonna show you a quick sample of what you could possibly do. But again, it has to work for you and make it really simple on yourself and you know, whatever is easiest for you. So for example, during the summer learning program, I know that most of us use screenshots a lot. So a screenshot is a great way to just capture what students are doing, go back to it later, and you can do your assessment at a later time. The other thing you can do if you're doing it in real time, so the example that Nicole has that she's showing you right now, if I've already set up my classroom norms and expectations, I might use sticky notes and color code them and use those to post on student work to give them an idea of what they're doing or how they're doing and stuff like that. So here I've used a yellow sticky note for students to use. So if they have a question or they need help, they could put a yellow sticky note on the page that they're struggling with. It doesn't even have to have a question mark in it. It could simply be a yellow sticky note. And if I go to that student's jam and I see that yellow sticky note, I know that they need help. So I've color coded that way. For the next one, I've chosen a blue sticky note to label a strategy from the continuum. So students could label their own strategy. I could label a strategy for them, but I've already specifically set out that blue is, we're labeling strategies with our blue sticky notes. On the next frame, I've chosen the pink sticky note to give feedback. So if students see a pink sticky note on their jam page, they know that I've checked it, they know that I've given them some feedback, and maybe they need to go and make an adjustment. So here there's been a mistake in the skip counting, and I've asked a student to find it and correct it. And then next, I've used the green sticky note to show that I've checked somebody's work. That way they know that I've checked it, and I know that I've checked it. I've thrown that green sticky note down there, and I know that they have, they can access that material. And then, so if we go to the next slide, Nicole. So sometimes we talked about this too, you're going to want to give students different works from their classmates. So whether you're differentiating instruction and giving them a different level of work, or you want students to work in smaller groups, you can import a jam into your Google Classroom. So you're going to create an assignment, and then once you've included your title and your instructions, you're going to add a link. So that's there. And then when you copy your link from Jamboard, you need to give students editing access so that they can work collaboratively on a specific jam. So Nicole, if you go to the next one. So yep, the next one. Yep. And then once you've copied your link, you have to make sure students are editors, and then you can just say yes, and your link is created there. And then if you go to the next page, when you're assigning your work, you're just going to choose the specific students that you want in that group. So this is, for example, this from the social studies curriculum. That's just a brainstorming page. So students could use sticky notes or text boxes and put their ideas right there on that idea page. And you know that only those 4 students are working on that page.
So to the question that was asked before about if you max out a Jamboard at 20 slides, this is how you work around that. You actually assign the Jamboards through Google Classroom, and you only assign them to certain students. Or individually, everybody gets their own Jamboard, and then it's not a collaborative document. It's just a tool.
And again, that color coding strategy was totally just a sample. You do what works for you and colors the way you want them, and that's your expectations for assessment and evaluation.
Bree, can we flip to Jamboard and show them where to find that link for their jam, where to copy it from? Yep.
So Nicole, will you flip to a Jamboard, please?
It doesn't matter which one.
So Nicole, I lost my mouse, so you might have to, or somebody else might have to talk through this one because my mouse is gone again.
Can you, okay, if you talk, I can point.
Okay, but I can't really see where you're pointing because my Zoom session is up. So
okay. So in the top right corner in your Jamboard, you'll have a share button. Sometimes it's orange, sometimes it's blue. So like any Google product, that's how you share things. So if you click on that, go to the very bottom where it says Get Link, And this is where you really need to pay attention to. So it defaults to Lambton Kent, which is fine if we're teaching. But for the sample, we needed to open that up. And you can change that however you want. And then just hit the copy link in the blue on the right-hand side. And you will paste that link into your classroom to share it with your students. Okay.
Moving on to brain breaks. Like I had mentioned before, with doing 2 hours of synchronous at the time in the summer learning program, everyone realized how important it is that we give students brain breaks. So I will go to the next slide, and Lindsay, take it away.
Okay, I've switched to my phone, so I'm hoping my audio is better. Are we good? Can you hear me?
That's much more clear, less choppy.
Okay, good. So
And we
I'm
have
only
9
listening with my phone, so I apologize for my video. So this is a way that I used a brain break in summer learning. I guess we all did. So you can use Pictionary as an interactive whiteboard, kind of like, let's bring it back to the most basic use that we can. And I'm just going to show, just as I plan to do this in my classroom, even when we're back face-to-face. You can just post your clues in Classroom. So there's a Google Classroom clip at the very top. And you just create teams by selecting and unselecting students, and it just gives them a list. And I just suggested make sure you use clues that are kind of challenging. Like, you wouldn't just want a flower to be a question or a clue. You might want something like summer, which is a picture that is
your video came in
low. It just lets kids kind of relax, and it really builds the community in your room. Okay, that's all, Nicole.
Okay, so a couple other ways that you can use Jamboard. So Jana, if you'll post this link, we can actually all go into this Jamboard. I'm just going to open it up too. So as you do with any of these particular strategies, you can use them for whatever content area, right? We're all familiar with 4 corners and 3 things, right? So the stop and sketch and the jot note work a lot better on iPads because you have that zoom feature that you don't have on a Chromebook. But so for today, I'm actually going to ask everybody to go to the second slide. You'll see it should have 3 things at the top. And then this is a chance for you to play with Jamboard. So if you want to use a sticky note, which is on the left side, or a text box, or maybe both, if you could tell us 3 things. So something you've learned so far about Jamboard, ways you think you might use Jamboard or you have used Jamboard, and any questions that you might have. So I'll just give a little minute for everybody to try this out and see how it goes. And if you're finished, you can certainly scroll through those other boards and see if there's anything there that you find interesting too.
Okay, Lisa, everyone has this link so they can continue to add to it. If you don't mind, I'm just going to keep motoring on because we have about 7 minutes.
Yep.
So everyone still has access to this and can see what everybody is contributing. And I will go back here and continue on. We have some really great things to still share with you that we wanted to keep going. So we have advanced features. If you are a little more confident with using Jamboard and you're looking for the next level of things that you can do, here are some features for you. Lindsay, are you ready if I play this?
I think she's frozen.
Do you want to speak to it, Brian?
I can.
So Nicole, you can just, yeah, you can press play. Am I frozen?
No,
You're good.
Okay, so if you just want to restart it, Nicole.
Okay.
So this is just something that I used in summer learning, but also that you could use in the classroom. So if you are presenting, this is grade 6 social studies, you have an awesome Google slide. You can actually open your Google slide in Jamboard. Now, this is an option that you could present. It's not a great presentation mode, but what I like about it is you can pull one of your slides out of Google Slides, and it is gonna show an image as an image. So this is just me going through my Google Drive. So I've actually opened up a slideshow in Jamboard. And if you have a moment where like students are really talking and you really want to document it, you can just pull actually a page out of Google Slides and it becomes an image. And you can enhance that image and then you can actually write. So this says, what does this quote mean to you? So maybe students want to talk about it and you want to stop. And then even when you're done writing and students have shared all their thoughts, you can actually import this as an image and then maybe post it to your Google Classroom as an anchor chart, or it might be something you want to print if there was something for evaluation for one of your students. It's definitely a tool that I really liked using and will plan to use in September.
Okay. And we have guided language using Jamboard.
Yep, so this is another way that you can import an image or a document from your Google Drive. Sorry, just go back, Nicole. And you can use this as an interactive whiteboard, so you can actually put your handout on your Google Drive, or sorry, your Jamboard, and students can be watching while you're presenting if you're doing this virtually, and you can fill out the sheet together. And then on the side, you can see that there was some questions on sticky notes, and this is actually what we did during distance learning. So those are actually my students' comments, and we just zoomed in so you could see the sticky notes really well, and I used my pencil or my stylus because I find it easier to jot notes really quickly. And then I used the text boxes to fill out the page, and that was a guided instruction. And then, sorry, Nicole, go ahead. The next page, this would be a blank one that I'm going to actually post to Google Classroom. So if you just want to make that, so that video, when you guys do have this slide deck, you can see that video is how to post an individual Jamboard so that students get their own copy, and then you can use it for assessment. So we've already done it guided. Now this is their turn to show me what they can do. And it just shows how you make your own their own copy. And then when, as a teacher, you're going to go in your Drive and you can see all of their Jamboards.
And this tool that we use, we learned as well with remote learning, is actually a phenomenal extension. So Lindsay, do you want to just mention what that extension is you're using to record your screen?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's I actually am just using my iPad, and I just pulled down.
Oh, on that. Okay.
Yeah, that's all I'm using.
When you put in a black line master like you have, can you write on that black line master right in Jamboard?
Yes, that's what's awesome. So as long as it's saved as a PDF or an image. So for this story map one, I actually just opened my Drive document on my iPad and then screenshotted the page I wanted so that it was an image, because I just find that the easiest way to import it. And then just put it in as stylus or a text box.
So anything that you've already.
Okay, and then, sorry, I know we're running out of time, so I'm just going to talk. I'm just going to talk quickly, so don't play the video yet. This is just an idea of another way to use Jamboard that I did. I don't like my students having to write like notes off the chalkboard. I think we're a little beyond that. No offense if you all do, but I like this as an interactive science board. So this is an idea that you could show all of your learning from one unit. So we've shown how you can zoom in and write. So if you click on the video now, Nicole, it just shows me building this Jamboard. So I actually zoom into my little section, and that's how Carla was telling us how she got really neat writing. I'm using a stylus and my writing is not as nice as Carla's, so I think she's just gifted. But you can actually write your important notes, and then that could be in they've accumulated through the whole unit.
Is that everything, Lindsay?
Yep.
Okay. I think Thank you. And our last part here, which we've already touched on a little bit, but is digital citizenship surrounding Jamboard. So as with any learning community, it's always so important to take the time at the beginning and when you first are using something to gather together to collaborate and establish the norms that are going to enable a safe place for every student to learn. And it's well worth the time spent because it's going to save you time in the end, and they will actually get more out of the learning. So just things to consider are how to show respect in an interactive digital space. For example, how to stay on one assigned Jamboard and not navigate to other students' Jamboards. Or, you know, if they are figuring something out, not navigating to other Jamboards to look at how someone else get their answer and then just pop it onto theirs. So actually, some learning surrounding staying on one Jamboard, even cursor etiquette. You notice when you're using your cursor on Jamboard that the little icon appears up in the top. And if they if they move that really fast, it creates kind of a train and it is a bit distracting. Also, altering the work of others is not permissible, just setting that the ground rules right off to begin with. And then going over effective ways to communicate effectively with each other on this digital platform. So what kind of words are they using? Is it kind? Is it encouraging? Does it connect to the learning? And also going over how to collaborate positively with others as well in that kind of environment, because it is a collaborative environment. You can work with friends, but how are they going to do that in a positive way? So if anyone has anything to add to that.
Nicole,
go ahead.
can you share again the video recording app or the add-on that you were starting to talk about? Lindsay then said, I think she just used the screen recording, but do you have a video recording app that you were referring to?
An extension phone called Screencastify.
Oh, it's a Screencastify?
Yep.
Perfect. Thanks.
So if you're on your laptop, Screencastify is phenomenal, and it actually saves the videos and puts them right into your Google Drive.
And it does work on iPad as well, but iPad has a built-in feature to do it.
Yeah. But it's Screencastify is so handy. It's very easy if you know how to add an extension into your toolbar. And like I said, it saves, you can create your own folder. It could be an assessment folder, and it will save it all right in that folder. Okay, and if anyone has any questions, I know we're kind of at the end and we want to honor your time. It is your summer, and we thank you so much for actually coming out and being a part of this session with us today. But if anyone does have any questions and would like some troubleshooting with any of the stuff, we are more than willing to open up Jamboard and help you with anything that you'd like to know.
And that bit.ly along the bottom of the screen is the link to this slide deck. So take a picture of that or write it down. And that will give you a link to all of the Jamboards and all of the slides and all the videos that we've showed you today.
Can you see the bit.ly?
Okay. When you hover your mouse. Hang on, I can move it.
That bottom bar keeps popping up over it.
We'll just refresh your browser for a second. I moved the bit.ly. Sorry.
Let's take an extra second.
Jana could copy that into the chat bar too.
Yeah.
I did that.
Oh, thank you.
Really nice about Screencastify that I don't think your screen recording on an iPad does is that it will record your voice over the video as you're taking the video, where I don't think if you screen record an iPad, it wouldn't pick up your voice talking over it.
So just so you know, this has been recorded, and I'm pretty sure that it will be available on our blog, the local sessions like these ones. We're not guaranteeing that the other ones, like Joe Bowler this afternoon, we have just some contractual obligations with those. So if you want to hit some of those, you make sure you hit them on the time they're being offered. But I do believe that these ones are recorded and they're going to be posted at a later date for people to go back and view them again.
And today at so here's our lineup for the rest of the week. And today at 1 o'clock, we will have Joe Bowler, who's phenomenal. I don't know if anyone follows her on Twitter, but she also does UCubed, and I've had lots of stuff that it's really engaging for students. She's speaking to opening mathematics and opening minds. Any questions there, Gianna?
No, we are good. We have a lot of thank yous. Thank you for a great session, everyone. Summer Learning Program team, you are incredible. Thank you for sharing everything with us.
I want to thank everyone who, like Bree and Brianne and Carla and Lindsay and Lisa, and all of you did so much work. This is yours, and you are phenomenal teachers, and I just thank you very much for your willingness to share everything today.
Diane, if there's something specific you need repeated right now, I'd be happy to try and help you out.
Me too, Carl. I'm really looking forward to seeing how we can use this inside of a classroom as well, because I think it's a great tool, even if we're all in the same room.
Diane, do you want to unmute? Okay.